No one is ready for what's about to happen. Hey everybody watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. My name is JJ, back with another dose. BX4, bold to the bus, ride the bull, prepare for the bear. BX4 back in the building. Stock market, huge sell-off today. Was it the drones? Was it what the central bank said about the rate cuts? Or are there other things that we need to be aware of? Let's go ahead and get right into it here. First, the drone situation, folks. There's still a lot of mystery and a lot of different guesses and different theories on what these drones are about. The local news reports for the one in San Diego, the one that I showed in my previous video, the local news stations here are saying, oh, it was just an airplane, no big deal. But it was flying around in circles. It wasn't staying at the same level. It was up, it was down. Usually planes, when they're preparing to land or they're circling, waiting to land, they're pretty much the same level. What's the word to use if you're in aviation? Same height. I don't know what the word is, but it's usually not going up and down. Around in circles, yes, but not up and down. Something strange, something doesn't add up about a lot of these so-called explanations for these. But also radiation levels spiking in New York amid drone sightings. Americans are told to prepare for the worst. An expert on U.S.-Chinese relations has warned that the hundreds of drones buzzing New Jersey homes and military bases could be a precursor to an attack. And what have I been saying here for a long time? Second half 2024, look out. It's going to be crazy, and we're not out of the woods yet. Even after December, not out of the woods. Major things are in the works, so to speak. And I think we're going to see attacks on our infrastructure, on our grids, on the banking system. I think people are actually going to be in shock once all this finally plays out. And of course, we try to give timelines here. The second half of 2024 is when I said we'd likely see a lot of chaos, maybe even a calamity. But it doesn't mean that at the end of the year, we're out of the woods. That's just the timeline. If I was maybe a month early or a few weeks early on my call, it's still a pretty good call. We're going to see how it plays out, but let me know what you think about this, what's going on here. According to George Counter World Map, which tracks radiation levels across the world, 2 areas in the New York metro area have been flagged as red. The areas have been both said to be over 200 counts per minute safety threshold. There are similar red flags further north near Connecticut. That's out of the Express. It follows claims that drones are hunting for nuclear warhead that went missing during the Cold War. Missing during the Cold War, to me, I don't know about that, but there's a lot of other theories that I believe before that. But I do believe that we're not being told the whole story, the whole detail. And to me, that in itself is scary. The fact that there's not an official explanation out of one of the quote-unquote leaders, just that is scary enough to me, because what's going to happen when something really serious happens? When a real nuke is headed towards this country? What's going to be the response? Will there be a response? Do we even have people in place right now that are going to be protecting this country? To me, it's very, very worrying. And those of us that have been a little bit hesitant on keeping all of our money in the bank or all of our money in the markets, we've been a little bit of egg on our face, because the people with all their money in there, they've been making some gains on the stock market. Today was a big sell-off, though. We just have to try to figure out how to be safe, but also make money off of this pretty much endless bull market. It seems like it's endless. Speaking of endless bull markets, let's take a look at what happened today. We're just going to look at the Dow Jones, and just want to kind of put this in the big picture perspective here. The magnitude of today's drop. Over 1,000 points, 1,123 off on the Dow Jones. But when you look at a one-year chart, it's not that massive, right? We saw a big sell-off in the summer. Every few months, a big sell-off. The question is, will this continue, or was this just a reaction to the central bank? Basically, the central bank announcing they're going to be slowing down the rate or frequency of rate cuts. And if you know anything about the markets and the economy in general, what we need to keep this market going up and to keep the economy from imploding is constant stimulus, constant promises of lower rates, promises of easy money, and the easy money that we're already getting. But in addition to that, more easy money promises down the road. And if you want to go out a little bit further here, looking at a 5-year chart here, Dow Jones, Back in the summer 2023, or 2022 rather, we went from Dow Jones 33.7 to bottomed out there at about 28.7. So that was a 5,000 point drop. So really with this one, the 1,100 point drop today, not a biggie. I think we're gonna see the markets recover unless there's some other scare that comes out. So far, the drone situation really hasn't scared the markets. Remember, when something really threatening occurs, you will see a market sell-off because it's basically the billionaires, the top 10%, that control the stock market. They own about 90% of all stocks. So when they all get together and decide to sell, that's when they're going to sell. And in my estimate, most of these billionaires, top 10% that own most of the stocks, they get tipped off on what's going to happen. They know in advance of what's going to happen. So they all hit the sell button at once. And it's the little guy, the bottom 90%, typically that's left holding the bag, right? So I just urge everybody to be cautious. I know some people are making good money thinking that markets always go up, but bad things can happen. And if over the last 6 months, none of this has given you that little warning, I would just say, use caution. Now, while it's not the biggest sell-off in the stock market here, the Dow Jones, it is the longest. This is a 10-day losing streak, the longest as far as time frames since 1974. 10-day losing streak. That's pretty big. I think pretty important to kind of put that into perspective here. Is it more than just the rate cuts? Is something bigger brewing? Do these drones, are they indicating that something bigger and darker may be on the horizon, right? Not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying be ready. I just don't like seeing people get hurt. Remember back in 2020, we had federal employees begging for money through like apps and programs to send money to people. They were begging people for money after 1 or 2 missed paychecks. These were federal employees, some of the best paid workers in the country. And you have to ask yourself, if federal employees are that desperate just after 1 or 2 missed paychecks, what's the rest of the country going to be like, again, when the grid goes down, when there's an attack on the banking system? I read so many different reports on the drones. I read that there's technology out there that can actually hover drones above an area and grab all kinds of Wi-Fi passwords with the technology. It bypasses encryption and a lot of stuff, right? That's just somebody's opinion, though. That's just what somebody, they said. It wasn't their opinion. They said it was fact. They didn't say it was happening, but they said the types of drones that these look like reminded him of that type of drones that had that type of technology. Anyways, I'm not trying to say that's what it is. I'm just letting you know lots of people have different theories. And what are your theories? I like some of your comments in the last video. Some of you said it was sniffing for nukes, talked about the radiation. Others said it was a big nothing burger. These were just planes. Others said that this was done on purpose to try to scare people, to try to get people to no longer use their personal drones. And why would they be doing that? That's the question. Why would they want people no longer to use their drones, right? Because they don't want certain things being photographed. Who knows, right? Now, shifting gears a little bit here. We've spoken about this since early November. A lot of euphoria right now, a lot of optimism and hope that things are going to get a lot better, a lot easier. Well, it depends on what your definition of better is. If you think it's going to be better with more stimulus and lower interest rates, maybe you're right, because that's what you're about to get. But cost of living is going to go higher. Housing is going to go higher if they do this. Right? Remember, there's got to be a disruption in the way money's loaned out, the way banks loan out money. There's got to be a disruption in that system in order for there to be any sort of price correction. There also has to be something massive that wipes out jobs on a major level. But even if that does happen, if they come with more stimulus and protection programs to prevent markets from dropping or to prevent price levels from dropping, then you're going to see just more inflation with whatever the rescue is that they're going to come in with. But people think that it's just here in the United States, that it's the leadership problem, that new leadership is going to fix it all or make it a lot better. Look at this, Wall Street Journal. Housing affordability crisis is going global, folks. This is a global system of loan out endless amounts of money, endless credit card, in other words. Imagine if you had an endless credit card and you didn't have to pay it back. Maybe you had to pay a minimum payment, but not even that. You had to run deficits personally to just make the minimum payment on your credit card. and it just keeps on extending, keeps on extending, open-ended, no limit. That's the United States. That's what we're running under. That's why I've called the United States the bankrupt nation. Now, when it comes to home prices and the unaffordability, we know that big money, big investors coming in, it's a big part of it. In some areas, including, let's say, California, about 50% of homes are owned by investors and not by the residents of the homes. In Virginia, though, a senator hopes to ban big investors from buying houses in the state. Institutional investors helped drive up much of the increase in Richmond's housing market in recent years. A 3-year study of Richmond's real estate market shows. Will that ever happen? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over there in Virginia, because a lot of these people that make these decisions or make these laws, they get very rich off of the fact that they allow institutions and investors to come in and to buy homes, right? So a lot of them are just basically on the payroll of some of these same institutions. And if not on the direct payroll, it's lobbying, things like that. If those of you that know about lobbying, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And still on the topic of housing unaffordability, HSBC, what's that stand for? Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. HSBC launches $25,000 down payment assistance program for home buyers. They unveiled Community Works, opening doors, offering substantial down payment grants across 7 states, part of a $25 million initiative. So the fact that the homes are too expensive, that's not the problem. What they're saying is the problem is people don't have a down payment. So they're going to help people get a down payment for overvalued homes, bubble-priced homes. And if they keep the bubble inflated forever, then maybe this is a blessing for some people. Maybe it's the only way they'll ever get into a home. There's people on this channel that have completely opposite views. I mean, in comments, viewers of the channel. Some people say bubbles always burst. Bubbles always burst. It's going to burst at some point. We don't know when, but something's going to poke the bubble, pop the bubble. The pin will go into the bubble at some point, is what people are saying. Other people are saying not so fast. If they've inflated it to this level, what's going to stop them from inflating it to the next level, or whatever you want to call it? Double. What if home prices double from here? What if they come in with more assistance programs? They freeze foreclosures so no one can get foreclosed. They don't pass any limitations on mega money investors buying homes. So you have billionaires coming in, buying up thousands of homes every year, tens of thousands if you want to look at the total. That's possible, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen, folks. So be ready for anything is what I always say here. All right, a little bit more news on the banking regulation or deregulation. In this case, possible tighter regulations on the banks. Now it's 2025 when they're saying that the banks are going to have higher capital requirements. They talked about that happening here in 2024. It was supposed to be implemented in October, and it didn't happen. It wasn't allowed to happen because I think the ones making these decisions, they know as soon as the banks tighten up or have some restrictions, it's going to be game over for the economy, because once it's going to be harder to borrow money or people get their credit limits frozen and the bank can no longer loan out money on a large scale, this could be the end, and you're going to see the big R word pop up and maybe even the D word as far as what's going to happen with the economy. So either way, what do you think about the drone situation? Let me know if you found any new info. What do you think it is? Is it a threat? Is that why the markets came down, or was that just a temporary blip because of the talk on the slowdown in the rate cuts? Or will we continue to see a big sell-off? I'm ready for either way. If it goes up, I'll make a little money. If this thing crashes, I'll make a lot more money, because everybody knows when you come in and buy at the bottom, that's the golden opportunity. That's what Warren Buffett does. That's what I've done in previous downturns and market scare situations. That's where I've made the most. And if it goes up forever, I'll be wrong, and I'll still be okay. Still making a little money, still surviving, still getting by. Hope you are too. Hope you're doing well. Please make sure you're subscribed, notifications turned on, and leave me a comment. Either way, if you don't know, if you heard somebody that knows, theory, whatever, like to hear from you down in the comments, everybody. As always, keep stacking. See you next time. Bye for now. Peace.